It was a bird of some sort. That is my personal opinion.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. Follow Daniel at dstarsick on Twitter. Follow Ryan at Darth Damio on the Bluebird app. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that the Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of the Horror of Babylon where we are discussing the Mothman Festival 2022, which we attended like 3 months ago and haven't recorded anything on. So we're just going to do a real short bonus episode on that.
We'll do a bunch of tags about Mothman.
Yeah.
Lots of hashtags.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
So background, just a real quick brief history if you're not familiar with Mothman. It is a cryptid from here in West Virginia, specifically Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is the western part of the state by the Ohio River bordering Ohio. More or less, without getting into a bunch of details and specifics, there was about a year-long period in the late 60s where citizens of Point Pleasant were seeing a tall, dark, winged creature with red eyes that was flying around and quote-unquote terrorizing people. Never hurt anybody, never killed anybody. There were over 100 sightings of this. The first one was by a couple of grave diggers, and then there were some people who were out driving around in cars who saw it, and they said that it chased them in their car. Long story short, right before Christmas, towards the end of the year, it was showing up towards a bridge that's right there in Point Pleasant, and people couldn't understand why they kept having sightings near the bridge, and then the bridge collapsed and a bunch of people died.
Tragedy on the River Ohio.
When did you first learn about the Mothman?
The movie The Mothman Prophecies came out, and then I learned it was a book, and then I learned it happened in West Virginia, and I was like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Same for me.
Mothman Prophecies was at the high point of my hatred for Richard Gere, so I never watched it.
That's a tragedy, because that movie's kind of good.
It's really good, yeah.
I rewatched it right before we went to the Mothman Festival.
Yeah, I enjoy it. We'll probably do an episode on it at some point. I enjoy it.
It's 1,000 times better than the book.
Let me know when you do. I'll page through it. I'll watch it.
The book is basically the Ancient Aliens History Channel show, but book.
So, aliens.
Yeah, that's
Aliens.
Well, only he doesn't say aliens in the book. He's like extra-dimensional entities.
Extra-dimensional entities. Cryptids. So why did we go to the Mothman Festival, Daniel?
We've been talking about it for years. It's like a big part of like West Virginia pride, I guess. And
Yeah, we've got pepperoni rolls, West Virginia University football, and the Mothman.
And the Mothman. And you know, we talk about cryptids sometimes. We're all big fans of horror. And it's just one of those things where it looked like a good time, and we were like, hey, we should go down and do this some year. And this year we were like, hey, we could actually do this, and we looked for a hotel, and then we realized, oh, this is a lot more popular than we thought, because it was like 3 months out, and every hotel in a 100-mile radius was like booked solid.
Yeah. Like, if we could get hotels where it was just like, it's so far away.
Some of the hotels that we were looking at were actually further away than just our drive.
We're hoping to go again next year and make a 2-day trip of it and get a hotel ahead of time. There's actually a haunted hotel
that we really want to get.
Yeah, on the strip there in Point Pleasant.
We thought we were so smart. We were like 3 months in advance. We'll get the haunted hotel.
Nope.
Ahead of the game.
Just some general discussion on the event. Hef, what were some of your expectations?
Truth be told, I didn't really have a whole lot because I didn't really know what we were wandering into. I expected a lot of people, but I also didn't expect... Because that was, I think, like the first one they'd had like post-COVID. So like
that was the first one post-COVID.
Yeah, so there was like 20,000 people or something like that.
I heard 30,000 was the number.
Well,
for a town that sits 5,000 people.
There's no admission, so there's no way to have an accurate count. They canceled 2020 and 2021, so it was the first one since 2019.
Well, and what was also a thing was I didn't know how small Point Pleasant was because it's all but abandoned.
And you can walk from one end to the other in 10, 15 minutes.
I always said that if I become a best-selling author, that's where I'm moving.
I want to go. Like, I want to go there not during Mothman because I think it would be actually a pretty cool, like, almost ghost towny kind of experience.
God, we could probably get the full Mothman experience with the museum and
the museum is open all year.
Get the haunted hotel.
It's close to Ohio, so like we could do it on the way to something else or do it in addition to something else, and it doesn't have to be just that too.
Some of the other stuff we were talking about was like looking around down there, saying like if we can get the podcast a little bigger, or maybe going down there with the booth some year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to do it with those kinds of numbers.
No.
But maybe like once it dies down.
Yeah. I gotta imagine it's gonna be a little smaller next year. With these events, and we all play Magic, and we've seen that too. Like the few like big Magic events that have happened have all had like huge numbers because people just want to go out.
They want to do something.
Yeah, they want to go to events. They want to be not in their homes watching Netflix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even SCG-Con in Pitts was like...
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
There was a lot of people for what... Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, that was a good time, though.
No, I was actually just surprised by, again, just how small it was. Like, cause, you urban legend, you think, like, all these things. Like, you think with all the touristy attractions that they would build up. And I think there was... It might have been you that told me that, like, that's the town's revenue for the year.
Yeah, I think...
Is that festival. Like, just that one weekend.
They don't have, like a single thing there that has jobs. Like in a lot of towns in West Virginia are supported by a college or a university or a coal mine or like a lumber industry. Like most like little towns have like one thing that people are there to have jobs, or their spouses have jobs there. Like for instance, Morgantown, West Virginia. Like most people who live there have some association with West Virginia University. But Point Pleasant doesn't have that anymore. They just have the Mothman. And I've heard in several documentaries, if it wasn't for the Mothman, the town would have died a long time ago.
I'm just gonna buy a parking lot down there, and that's how I'll make my money. Once a year at Mothman Festival, will be like $20. You can park here.
Sure.
That'd be actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think that's what we were charged, was $20 for parking for the day.
I think so. Yeah, but we parked in like a bank parking lot, I think, or a veterinarian or
well, it was like
something.
Yeah, well, I mean, there wasn't hardly anything down there. Like,
a place where somebody gets douched.
I'll buy a lot and turn it into a parking lot.
You'll buy a lot and turn it into a parking lot?
Yeah, like land.
Okay.
So what was actually there? Daniel, what could you go there and do?
A whole lot of nothing because the lines were too long.
Okay, what were people what did we do, but what were people...
You had like, there was a bunch of tours that they were advertising, which I'd like to do.
Yeah.
But there was no way that was happening.
There are bus tours of the TNT area, which was near Point Pleasant. Back during the war, the Army had testing facilities out there.
Yeah, which I really like to do. But
and that was one area where it was spotted.
There's the Mothman Museum, which we all wanted to do, but the line for that was like a mile long.
Not an exaggerated, literally.
Yeah. It was literally like a mile long.
Like thousands of people waiting in line. And what sucks is we got there when we got there, the crowds weren't bad. If we would have went straight to the museum, we probably wouldn't have had to wait very long.
Yeah. There were a lot of booths, and my favorite booth was the Hodag booth.
Fun fact. Fun fact.
Yeah.
My buddy dresses up as he goes up to Snowshoe and dresses up as a teddy bear.
Yeah.
As he snowboards.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big fucking teddy bear outfit. Apparently, he has been on the mountain at the same time that the Hodag guy was.
That's great.
And they know each other.
I got so many photos of just on.
Next time we go, we need to tell them we know Eddie the Teddy, and apparently we'll get free stuff. That's what he told me.
I just love that booth's energy so much. Like, they were so into it.
Yeah.
So there were artist booths, there were dealer
so
booths.
many, yeah.
There were booths for particular cryptids like the Hodag.
Bigfoot had a few booths. Like, there was a booth that was just selling like Bigfoot track molds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
It was basically like any unconventional hobby.
I expected some cosplaying, but I didn't expect the level that we were seeing.
And not just like cryptid and horror stuff. There were people doing Star Wars costumes. 501st Legion was there.
Yeah. They had a band there. I don't know who that was.
They had a lot. They had like a whole live music lineup throughout the day. We didn't really spend any time over there.
Yeah.
We had like a goth troupe too. Like there were a whole bunch of like people dressed up in goth clothing. It was really cool. The thing to go to is the Mothman statue, which everyone seemed grossly unaware that its ass was also there.
No line to touch the ass.
No line.
Like we there was a giant line to pose in front of it, and then we just kind of wandered around,
and there was no one there.
So we were like, "Hey, let's just touch the ass."
Another pro of going sometime not with the festivals, we could get pictures with its face too.
We also got shirts that said I touched the Mothman's butt, because that's apparently enough people do that they have a shirt.
People were leaving offerings of Mountain Dew and beans.
That was so funny.
And I'm just sitting there looking at it going, listen, it's funny. Like, I get it. It's an idol literally in the middle of your town. Mm-hmm. But that's such a waste of food.
I'm sure somebody grabs those at the end of the day.
Probably the Mothman.
It's like when you leave flowers on a grave. They don't just wilt. Like, somebody collects those.
That seems like such a waste.
There were also tons of food trucks, obviously. We ended up not eating there just because like every food truck had a huge line, and we weren't there overnight, so we ended up leaving and getting food elsewhere. But lots of tasty foods.
I was also afraid some of those foods might give us the shits and we have nowhere to go. Yeah. Like, a lot of it looked good. Mm-hmm. There's that noodle Chinese-y one.
Oh yeah, that whole it took up an entire street block just to.
It looked so good.
It looked really good.
It smelled real good.
I was looking at that food and I'm like, I bet you if we eat that, we're all gonna have a White Castle experience and shit our britches.
We're just crawling back to the car. Yeah. All of our fluids drained.
Yeah.
Poor britches.
And I only had one butt plug, so I could only save myself.
Just Ryan and I looking like fruit roll-ups on the side of the road, and Daniel's looking like he just inflated a balloon in himself.
Gross. And you can go to the memorial for the bridge, which we did do. There was no line for the bridge memorial.
The painting was cool.
Yeah, the mural.
Like the mural where the bridge used to be.
We got some really good photos there, too.
Yeah. Next time we go, we'll have to do some video content.
Yeah, we talked about doing that, but there wasn't. I think it was more crowded than we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, it was just super half-assed, and it was very, very hot, very, very crowded, very tired. Was not hydrated. I was not hydrated as well.
Because I think we went and it was I don't think we anticipated. So it got up to 90 something that day.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was 95ish.
It was hot.
I ended up buying a plush for my girlfriend who broke up with me that night.
Sorry.
Let's talk about that for a second.
So I gave it to a different girl.
You know what? I bought this for somebody else, but you're my thing.
You're my number one.
You're my number one.
Thug life.
Number one, Hannah. West Virginia number one.
Speaking of stuff.
Well, a month later, she ended up having to take a pregnancy test. So.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
I still need that shirt.
It worked.
All right, so let's move on to the Kings and the Koontz. Daniel, what was your king of Mothman Festival 2022?
The Hodag. He's my new best friend.
All right. Mr. Hef.
I liked how like, I liked how, like, without the people there, I just imagined it being kind of a dead town that would be kind of creepy and really interesting to walk through.
Yeah. My king is also just Point Pleasant. Like, it's just was very pleasant, like, little place. That was on accident, I swear to God. Shut up, I'm trying to make a point here.
A point on the Pleasant.
It's a nice little town. They have cute little shops. I like it. I'd like to go there and, you know, bebop in and out of the shots and maybe eat in a restaurant there and not, you know, have to deal with 30,000 people. By the way, my Koontz is 30,000 people.
My Koontz is also 30,000
I third that Koontz with 30,000 people.
All right. Now moving on to homework. This is a very tough, very serious homework question, and we're going to throw it to Daniel first. Is the Mothman real? Or, I'm sorry, do you think the Mothman is real?
Yes, but it was a crane.
We found a feather. We have video evidence. We found a feather.
There is a theory. There's a tall species of crane that has red on its face that a lot of ornithologists theorize is what people were seeing.
There's also a large owl that was in the area at the time that sometimes its eyes reflect and glow.
Yeah.
It was a bird of some sort. That is my personal opinion. I would love to experience something supernatural, but I don't think the Mothman is it.
My honest answer is I 100% believe that most of those people saw something. I can't tell you what it was. I think it's likely it was a bird or an owl or something.
And they were drunk and scared.
Yes. But I obviously some of those people were probably just jumping on the bandwagon and were full of shit. But I believe that some people saw something. I don't know what, but they saw something.
In fact, I'm going to be generous, and I'd even say about 3/4 of people saw something.
Yeah.
Or thought they saw something.
F?
I think it's a conspiracy theory, and since the town was going to die, they had to make something up to try to keep the town from going under.
I like this one.
That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
I still want to write that short story that's just the shadow over Innsmouth, but everyone's a Mothman.
I think what we should do is we should just actually go down, not necessarily with a camera, but for our own journalistic integrity,
Yeah.
and just ask questions.
Yeah.
And just do little interviews and just take a little notepad. Do nothing like that with it, and just talk to some of the people and see how.
Can we dress up as Men in Black the whole time?
Yes. I think it would be cool to just talk to locals about it, not even just to publicize, but just to get information for even just yourself, just have an idea of what did you really see? What did you what was it you actually experienced? And just see how radical people's.
What was that interview that you found where the person was like, "I've seen scarier shit like my ex-wife."
So I watched a lot of YouTube content on the Mothman. I don't remember. I think it was IGN when Fallout 76 came out. Sent a couple people down to Point Pleasant and did a short video on the Mothman. And they had a local who was driving them around because Mothman is in Fallout 76.
Yeah.
And they had a local driving them around, and he was taking them on this these curvy back West Virginia roads, and they were asking him what would you do if you ran into the Mothman when you were out back here in the woods? Because it's kind of spooky. He's like, man, the Mothman is the fourth scariest thing you could run into back here. We got snakes, bears, my ex-wife.
That was a great video.
I want to be in the car with that guy. My ex-wife. She works down at the plant down there. You probably passed it. Big smokestacks.
Yeah, Midgar.
Yeah. Dude, can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Midgar? Yeah, Midgar off to the right being you got this dead town, and it's just I bet half population is probably over there right now.
Yeah. Okay, question for the listeners. Do you want more cryptid content? Do you want more West Virginia specific local horror history-ish content?
We could go hunt Bigfoot.
Well, there's the asylum in Weston, there's the Moundsville Penitentiary, there's the Flatwoods Monster.
I did the haunted
Abaguchi.
Damn goopy cheese.
I did the haunted house at the asylum the year before COVID, 2019. I had to think for a minute, it's been so long. And at one point, they literally put me in a coffin and rolled me around, so that was fun.
I've never done the haunted, that nighttime thing,
yeah.
But I've done 2, historical daytime tours, and I enjoyed those thoroughly.
as soon as I don't know if they're doing it again yet, but I would like to do the one where they lock us in overnight.
Yeah, and I'd like to do that, and I'd like to do the one in the Mansfield prison.
Yeah.
Beck and Emma did that with Girl Scouts.
That sounds so great.
They both hated it. I was so jealous.
Let's do it.
I think it'd be cool to stay in like a haunted hotel, like just like record us like being dipshits in the hotel for a night.
Are we gonna pee on someone again?
There's also the Mannington Witch. Okay, so just reach out to us on our social medias to let us know. We would be more than happy to do all of that stuff. And for further reading, if you want to learn more about the Mothman, of course, there's the Mothman Prophecy film and novel. I can definitely recommend the film. I haven't read the book. Daniel's not a huge fan.
I am not a fan at all.
I made a Mothman playlist on the Horror of Babylon YouTube page, so you can go there and see a lot of free documentaries and lore videos for the Mothman. Some documentaries, The Mothman on Point Pleasant, The Mothman Legacy, True Terror with George Takei did a Mothman episode.
Oh my.
Oh my. But yeah, thank you guys for recording this a little bit on the Mothman. That was super fun.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
December 18th, we are finally going to be covering Mary Shelley's horror or sci-fi? Anyways, Mary Shelley's classic Frankenstein.
I have opinions.
Good. We will all. And then on Christmas, we will release a episode covering two movies, Thomas Edison's 1910 Frankenstein, and then the iconic Boris Karloff Frankenstein from 1931.
Is that the same Thomas Edison?
Yes.
Yes, it's
That killed the elephant? Yes.
No shit.
Yeah, he made a Frankenstein movie.
What?
Yeah. I was sitting here with Ryan, and like we were going over the stuff we were doing for Frankenstein, and I was like, so are we not doing Thomas Edison just because you're a Tesla fan? And he's like, what Thomas Edison movie? And I explained to him that Thomas Edison made a Frankenstein movie.
Now we're doing it.
It's like 13 minutes long, so.
And then New Year's Day, we are going to drop Frankenstein by Junji Ito, the manga. And then our last Frankenstein episode will release on January 8th. Will be the 2015 film Victor Frankenstein with James McAvoy and Daniel Radcliffe. We're softcore becoming a Daniel Radcliffe podcast. We're gonna do Woman in Black after that. Swiss Army Man and
miscast. Daniel Radcliffe should have been Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah,
he's actually my dream cast for a adaptation of the actual book.
Yeah, I could definitely see him playing Victor, and not because in this movie he plays Igor, which I think is going to be strange. And apparently the movie is not very good, but I've wanted to watch it for a long time, and I love both of those actors, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I've liked movies that people have not liked before.
Yeah, and also I'm sure it's not worse than Roar or some other things that we have watched recently. All right, so thank you very much for listening, everybody. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary.
Stay scary.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. Follow Daniel at dstarsick on Twitter. Follow Ryan at Darth Damio on the Bluebird app. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.